we're going to talk about the 7 best tips for surviving long distance.
As some of you guys might know, Sufi and I were long distance for 6 months before she moved to California, and we definitely had a hard time with it.
So I had more of an open schedule because I was teaching at the time in New York, and I had more time to invest in our relationship.
Whereas I had a crazy travel schedule with my full-time job, and I was also flooded with volunteer and event planning commitments at the time, so I didn't have as much time to give to her.
So in this video, we're going to talk about how we made it work with our different schedules and our different needs at that time.
I think we did a great job.
Thanks. Okay, so our tip number 1 is set expectations early. Number 1, for how much you'll be able to talk throughout the day. That way there's no frustration when it comes to being able to talk or not. Just simply saying, hey, I won't be able to chat until the evening today makes a huge difference.
The second part of this tip is setting expectations about your financial situation and how often you'll be able to visit each other. If, for example, you're in a financial and scheduling position where you're able to visit the other person once a month, that's great. Communicate that to them. And if something comes up, say 1 month, where you're not able to visit that person, be upfront about it so that there's no communication issues or disappointment down the line. So tip number 2 is to share calendars, which might sound like a lot to people who aren't in a long distance relationship. In fact, we actually don't share calendars anymore now that we both live in the same place. But sharing calendars back then really helped us out because then Sufi could see when I had an opening in my day and she would be able to just call me when she knew that I was already free. And that kind of saved her the frustration of like calling me repeatedly when I was busy and then being frustrated because she would never get an answer when she wanted to talk.
Super organized. This is a Capricorn answer. Tip number 3 is, if you can, have your next visit planned before leaving. And this can also depend on your financial situation and how that plays out into your long distance relationship, but it was a game changer for us. Before we started doing that, goodbyes were full of a lot of anxiety and a lot of tears, and afterwards it was just tears.
Yeah, less anxiety at least. We were still sad to leave each other, but at least we knew when we were gonna see each other next, which took out like a huge stress factor. Tip number 4 is to plan for an early morning departure whenever possible. This one is super straightforward, but basically anytime that we had a departure that was gonna be in the afternoon or evening, we would spend basically our entire last day together just really sad and thinking about saying goodbye later. And it was a bummer. And then we found that whenever we had an early morning departure, that we were able to say goodbye in the morning when we were tired, and it wasn't like this huge deal because we were half asleep and just ready to get going.
Yeah.
And then also like we got to enjoy our last day together. It meant one more night of cuddling. It was overall just a lot easier to do a morning goodbye.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or feelings to add?
Snuggles are the best.
Yeah.
Tip number 5, be extra communicative. It's really easy for small problems to become big issues when you're long distance and getting into arguments over the phone. So there's always sort of a pressure for each visit to be perfect because you have such limited time together.
Yeah, and then if something ends up going wrong during a visit, it can feel like things are falling apart. So it's extra important to be super, super communicative. So that means throwing out everything that you've learned about playing hard to get in a relationship or playing dating games and just being 100% real with your partner. Even on things that are really hard to talk about. Like if you feel like you're getting distant from your partner or if you're questioning whether or not long distance is the right thing to you. It's so important that you talk to your partner about what each other's communication style is and get comfortable communicating with one another that way. Sitting down and literally having a conversation about your communication styles is huge. It changed things up for us a lot too.
Okay, so tip number 6 is being intentional with having dates. And this has to be one of my favorites because one of my love languages is spending quality time together. It was really important for Anjali and I to emotionally connect when we were physically apart. So having cute dates, watching a movie or reading a book together and talking about that, or playing an online game. Something we did a lot was falling asleep on FaceTime and also waking up to each other on FaceTime.
Yeah, we fell asleep on FaceTime a lot. I feel like that's like a very universal long distance experience, but comment below if it's something that you can relate to. I don't know, maybe people think it's weird, but it was very, very typical for us. Okay, so tip number 7, our final tip, is gifts and small gestures. When you're far apart like we were, it can be really impactful and sweet to send a small gift by mail or delivery service. They don't have to be big to be thoughtful and make the other person smile. We're gonna share 4 examples of some of the things that we did for each other while we were long distance. So the first one is, one time when Sufi was PMSing, I sent her a grocery delivery order with all of her favorite snacks. So jalapeno Cheetos and a bag of cherries and some orange juice and other stuff like that.
It was fire. And I remember surprising Anjali with cupcakes when she got her promotion at work.
I love cupcakes. They're like my favorite thing in the world. And then another one is I sent Sufi an order of little bath bombs and other like lotion, relaxation kind of items when she started her first week at her new job, because I wanted her to get some me time in, and working with kids is really stressful. I have no idea how she's so good at it. She's amazing.
I'm natural. And whenever Anjali would come home after going out with her friends, she'd be really hungry and she'd call me and tell me. So I kept that in mind, and
I still am. Also, Sufi is like, that was back when I was extremely reckless about my lactose intolerance. Don't be like me.
Was.
I still am. Also, Sufi is like totally the romance queen, and like I feel like she kind of started the trend. Like after her first visit to me, she like sent me an edible arrangement to say thank you for hosting her.
I like completely forgot I did that, but that's how you know it like runs in my veins.
She was a sweetheart, Mr. Romance Babu. So things like that, like those late night bites that Sufi used to send me, were just some examples of the things that we sent to each other during the time that we were long distance. The gifts have been small and big, but taking that extra step to say, hey, I'm thinking of you, or I love you and I want to make you smile, brings this sort of excitement to your relationship that's hard to create when you're so far apart.
So those are our 7 tips for getting through long distance.
If you guys are in a long distance relationship and you feel like there's something that you do that's a helpful tip that you think we missed, drop it in the comments below. We would love to hear from you guys about what you do to make long distance easier. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like,
comment,
and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Bye.